Welcome to Ping Pong Dreams, a place where silent journeys are voiced in the language of emotion. This isn't a stage for glamorous victories, but a haven for those who were once left behind, who once doubted themselves, who once failed, and still kept going. Here, you won't just hear the sound of table tennis rallies. You'll feel the heartbeat of those who never stopped dreaming. Today, that journey bears the name Sun Yingsha, a girl with a petite frame, but the heart of a storm. She doesn't say much, she doesn't seek attention, but every time she steps onto the court, the world can't look away. They call her the Little Storm, but nothing about what she's done is small. Sun Yingsha was born in 2000 in Shijiazhuang, a city that barely registers on China's sports map. She didn't come from a family of athletes, nor did she have a remarkable background, just a girl too mischievous for her parents to handle. One tiring afternoon, desperate to channel their daughter's overflowing energy, they brought her to a nearby ping pong class. No one imagined that the first wooden paddle placed in her tiny 5-year-old hand would awaken a whole new world. Her first coach didn't notice technique, he noticed her eyes that refused to give up. The gaze of a child who was both stubborn and strangely serious. Sun didn't speak in fancy words, but from the first touch of the ball, she behaved as if she already belonged. By the age of 9, she was selected for a national youth training program. From then on, she lived away from home, trained 6 to 8 hours a day, washed her own clothes, bandaged her own injuries, and swallowed her longing for her parents alone at night. Many of her peers quit or fell into depression, but not Sun. She didn't cry, she didn't complain, she just kept going. That's how she grew up, not in height, but in resilience. In her early teens, Sun was not a standout name. Coaches worried about her physical attributes, short, not much power, lacking wingspan. But bit by bit, she proved that speed, reflexes, grit, and a steel heart were worth more than any physical advantage. Quietly, steadily, the little girl climbed each rung of the ladder, and at 16, she made the world gasp. China Open 2017, Sun's first appearance at a major tournament. She stunned the crowd, defeating multiple stars including legend Liu Shiwen, and took home the title. People called it a phenomenon, but to Sun, it was only a first step. There was no flashy celebration, no grand speech, just a humble bow, a quiet nod, as if whispering to herself, "I've arrived." But after that summit came her first fall. Between 2018 and 2019, Sun's performances were erratic. She suffered loss after loss at major events. Critics said she relied only on speed and counterattacks, lacking strategy and maturity. She was dropped from the core squad, deemed not yet ready. There was a time when Sun trained alone, without a dedicated coach, without anyone filming her matches. Yet, in that darkness, she did not let go. She began observing herself in the mirror, through self-recorded videos, through harsh feedback from teammates. She changed her stance, her playing rhythm, even the way she breathed in matches. Then came a second chance, Tokyo Olympics 2021. A slot was granted to Sun, controversial, high pressure, and heavily debated. But when she stepped onto the Olympic court, she was no longer a trembling teenager. She was a warrior. The semifinal match against Mima Ito, the very player who once haunted Chinese table tennis, became her moment of rebirth. Sun didn't just win with skill, but with terrifying composure. No rushing, no panic. Every shot was a declaration. I'm back, stronger than before. She reached the final, only to lose to Chen Meng. But by then, the world already knew. Sun Yingsha was not a fleeting phenomenon. She was a force of consistency. Since Tokyo, Sun has held the world #1 spot. But what makes people love her isn't just the rankings. It's how she lives. Sun doesn't have personal social media. She doesn't represent countless brands. She doesn't appear on variety shows. In an age where athletes are swept into a whirlwind of publicity, she chooses to remain in the training hall, quietly, steadily. She lives minimally, eating clean, reading, meditating. When asked what she does after winning a big match, she simply smiled and said, "Sleep, then train tomorrow." And that is precisely what makes her magnetic. Sun doesn't force inspiration onto others. But the image of this small girl practicing alone late at night, silently fixing her own flaws, it resonates with millions of young hearts. In today's China, young fans aren't just idolizing online celebrities anymore. They're beginning to admire a quiet girl who doesn't dance on TikTok, but who has never given up. One mother once shared online, "My daughter told me, 'Mom, I'm not pretty like those girls on TV.' But after watching Sun Yingsha play, she said, 'Mom, I want to play ping pong too.'" Within the national team, Sun is the quiet connector. She supports younger teammates, steps back when needed. No jealousy, no drama. Even as world number one, she still bows to legends like Liu Shiwen and Ding Ning. But on court, she gives no ground. After a shocking loss in Korea, she once walked alone in the rain. No umbrella, no entourage. A journalist saw her, but didn't raise his camera. The moment felt too raw, too personal. Yet the next morning, Sun was the first to arrive at practice, drilling basic shots like the defeat had never happened. In a rare interview, she said, "I'm not good with words, so I let my paddle speak for me." A short sentence, but one that reveals everything. The court is where she feels whole. Sun reads classic literature. On long flights to Europe, she brings Tao Te Ching, a book full of silence and philosophy. She once said, "It reminds me that I don't need to win everything. I just need to win myself." She meditates, not taught, not for show, just 15 minutes of stillness every morning to meet herself, not the athlete, not the national hope, just Sun, the little girl from Shijiazhuang. Now, Paris 2024 draws near. She's expected to bring home the Olympic gold, but when asked, she didn't say she's ready to win. She simply answered, "I've trained enough not to regret." And that's what sets her apart. Sun doesn't dream of becoming the national coach. She doesn't aspire to be a brand ambassador. She once said, "One day I want to return to my hometown and teach kids like me, kids who have nothing. If they have that look in their eyes, that refusal to quit, I'll stay with them." She doesn't need applause. She doesn't crave spotlights. All she needs is a table, a ball, and a heart that still beats. You've just listened to Ping Pong Dreams, where stories aren't just told with paddles, but with the quiet heartbeats behind every triumph. If Sun Yingsha's journey touched you, perhaps a little storm inside each of us. Small, quiet, but still burning. And if you're walking through tired days, remember, no one is born a legend. Every miracle starts with someone who once stood up, in silence. Keep dreaming, keep fighting, even if no one claps. Because sometimes dreams don't need to be loud. They just need to last long enough not to fade. This is Ping Pong Dreams. Thank you for staying with us to the very end. Join us again in the next episode where table tennis becomes more than a sport. It becomes the most human kind of story. And remember, some storms arrive to destroy, but Sun Yingsha, she came to awaken, not to beat everyone, but to show the world that sometimes silence is the loudest voice of all.